नमस्कार सभी को। विद्यादानम श्रेष्ठ दानम। Give me blood and I'll give you freedom. I'm sure all of you know who said that. Subhash Chandra Bose. Gandhiji said, let's get independence, freedom through non-violence. Mother Teresa had a different story. He said, if you find faults with people, how will you find time to love them? At the stroke of the midnight hour, 15th August 1947, in the words of Jawaharlal Nehru, India awoke to freedom. We made a tryst with destiny. हम पढ़ेंगे, बढ़ेगा इंडिया. जय हो इंडिया. Please repeat with me. हम पढ़ेंगे, बढ़ेगा इंडिया. जय हो इंडिया. 69 years after we attained freedom, I remember the poem of Rabindranath Tagore. When the mind is without fear and the head is held high, where knowledge is free. I repeat, where knowledge is free. I don't want to go into the rest of the poem. I end with the last two stanzas. Into that heaven of freedom, my Father, let my country awake. Ladies and gentlemen, when I started teaching at S.P. Jain Institute of Management Studies, I realized I was at the wrong place teaching postgraduate students or students for postgraduate studies. India really needed education at the primary level, not at the higher education institutes. I started my career as a marine engineer from the prestigious Marine Engineering College, Kolkata. That was the only institution for marine engineering training. Having sailed for a short period of time and then having joined the corporate world and finally landed up teaching at S.P. Jain Institute of Management Studies, this is what I could see in the reports which students brought after the first trimester. I was aghast with the quality of education, the standard of our schools in rural India. And that's where I said, let me do something where it could make a difference. India has some of the best higher learning institutes, be it the IITs, NITs, some of the law universities, arts, and name whatever field, media, whatever. Vidyadanam, Shreshtadanam. As you can see, children, even today, after 69 years of independence, still do work like this when they should be actually in a school. The Brihan Mumbai Mahanagar Palika, the BMC as we call it, spends more than 2,700 crore rupees every year on the municipal schools. Every year, the number of students are dropping out. 65% of our population lives in rural India, which means a large number of children do not get access to good education in the country. I wanted such children to get the benefit of good English medium education. That's where my journey began. It was not an easy task. Setting up a school, an English medium school, funds was the big problem. I wrote to more than 250 corporates of this country asking for funds. Not that I didn't know the corporate world. I was aware of how the corporate world participates in some social activities. But unfortunately, not one replied to the letters I sent them. And then I wondered where the corporates get their money from. From the common man. They sell various products and services which we buy, and then they make profits, and then they give it back to some organizations, charitable organizations, NGOs, as maybe CSR funds today. I said, let me go to the common man who buys their products. Where could I meet them? If I were to come and knock on your door, not one of you would open your door and acknowledge my presence and listen to me. You would say, nahi mangta hai, and you would slam the door on my face. Having realized that as a professor of marketing strategy and business policy at SP Jain Institute of Management Studies, I decided that I must get a captive audience. And the only captive audience that I could get in a city like Mumbai was probably on the local trains. There were two options. Either the people heard me or threw me out of the train. I was prepared for both. But it was not so easy. I started collecting funds on the train. The first construction that I took up. And as things progressed, things kept happening. Keep going fast. And as you can see from the slides, we had a full-fledged school ready with small donations that came from across Mumbai. Recognition came along. The media took notice, the television channels took notice, they wrote about us, they made reports about us. And finally, I'm here because people like you felt that there's something good about this person, and that is why he must come and tell you this story. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not telling you this story because I want admiration, fame, money, and whatnot. The American Declaration of Independence also said that all men are created equal. Hum sab barabar hai. But the Creator has given us unalienable rights, which among them are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And I go back, I am not here for fame, recognition, name, money, and whatnot. I want to be happy. If you were to take the entire wealth of this world, I repeat, if you were to take the entire wealth of this world and put it on a table and divide it into two halves, one half is owned by just 62 people. I repeat, one half is just owned by 62 people, and the other half by more than 600 crore people. And within that other half, if you divide that into two more halves, one half is owned by yet another 400 people. So effectively, 25% of the wealth of the entire world is with 600 crore people. That's where my school finally came up. And as you can see from the visuals, are you finishing that fast? Yeah. We had everything in it, full-fledged schools, benches, a proper roof, concrete building, each classroom of 650 square feet. And mind you, ladies and gentlemen, go back to your schools, you don't have a classroom of 650 square feet. I did it, and I correct myself. People like me and you did it. हिंदी में जो कहते हैं, मैं सिर्फ निमित्त था, मात्र निमित्त. And it was possible because of the strong belief. Go to Uddeshya 2. Unless this gap is reduced, India can never progress. Keep moving. I'm sure you can figure out from the visuals what I mean. We live in such wonderful cities, Mumbai, Delhi, Hyderabad, Pune, Chennai, and name what. But this is the real India. And I take pride in saying that SP Jain really believes that unless the students studying at the SP Jain Institute of Management Studies understand this real India, they cannot become good managers. And that is why SP Jain is where it is today. It didn't have deep pockets when it started. Likewise, any good work when it started, you don't need deep pockets. Only a large heart is enough. This visual, go back to it. This visual tells you all. And to bring back that point to you, I go to a case history of Bai Fang Li, who was a tricycle driver for 20 years, and he had donated more than 350,000 renminbi, approximately 50,000 US dollars, to support the education of 300 students who lived in poverty. One winter, at the age of 90, he went back to the school. He gave his last donation of 500 renminbi, about $80, to the teacher and said, "This will be my last donation as I am no longer fit to work." At 90, he hanged his boots to give up the cause for which he worked all his life. At 93, he left this world. And you can see the children have a hero in him at that age, 93. All my speakers here are very young people today. And I'm happy that I am a misfit among them. That's the real India. The journey has just begun for me. Yesterday, Huffington Post, they wrote a 65-year-old professor. I am 55. They added 10 years. I am happy. That will only give youngsters like you the courage to take up things like this at a younger age. If I can do it at 65, if they have said it, all of you can do it at this age. And that's what I want you to do. Remember, resources are always needed, but they are not scarce. You have to find out the means to get them. This is the annual day function at the same school that I showed. Last year I had shown you just the school building. This year we have all this happening there. And all this happens in most of our schools, except that we may not have auditoriums like this. Please going fast. This is my second school at Rajasthan, 3 times bigger than the first school, 11,000 square feet. You can see the length of that building and the classrooms. And mind you, you may talk whatever, but actions speak louder than words. And that's where people want to come forward to help you, like Humans of Bombay did it a few days back. I didn't know anybody from Humans of Bombay. For that matter, I did not know that they were such a large portal. When I met Karishma, I thought she was one of those college students who wanted to write some article, and probably it was in some college magazine or something, until she said that she had a following of more than 4.5 lakh people. Well, that's what each one of you is capable of doing. And I'm exhorting you to do some activities like this. Many of the speakers that we will meet now have a similar background, who have achieved some great things in their own respective areas. In short, don't run after money. Money will run after you. Ladies and gentlemen, we have also built a small orphanage. In case we will come across any orphans, we will accommodate them in this school building complex. We have created a structure for 75 children. That should have been done in Yavatmal, which was my first school. Yavatmal is known for maximum number of farmer suicides because it's a drought-prone area. But that project will come up this year. We are short of funds, but that will come up. I now embark onto the next journey. I have decided that to expedite this work and to set up more such schools, I'll go to some of the top institutes of this country. The IITs, the IIMs, the NITs, and some of the top other institutions. Each of the students passing out from these institutes draws a salary of no less than 20 lakh rupees per annum. And imagine the strength of one batch of each of these institutions. They can set up one such school. They can set up one such school every year. It is a kind of ownership of such a school, not just from the financial point of view, but also from the economic point of view, the educational point of view. In every way, they can take up issues about the school. Adopting one school, setting it up, and as good as owning it for the rest of the lifetime of that batch. Very easy. The second option I'm looking at is, we have about 750 districts in this country. We also have 540 odd MPs in the Lok Sabha. You know about that, isn't it? We also have a number of MPs in the Rajya Sabha, maybe about 200 plus. I don't know the exact figure, sorry for that. Each of them gets a fund of 5 crore rupees per year. Which means in 1 year, each one of them can set up at least one school in their own respective districts. And it is so easy to do that. If I could do it with the help of a lot of people like you, why can't they? With these schools as examples, I am going to write to the Chief Minister and the Education Minister of the respective states where I run the schools, and I tell them to do exactly what I have told you just before. That's where I see things happening faster and across the country. I want to set up 100 schools before I leave this world on my own. But having 7 lakh villages in this country, that is nothing, that is peanuts. And therefore, the second approach of exhorting the MPs, the parliamentarians, and such people who get government funding, who get our funds to set up such schools. I had one clipping which is not coming up, is it? Sorry for that, but in short it is Tum chalo to Hindustan chale. I am sure you must have seen that visual, where there's a tree which has fallen across the street, and then a police van comes and it stops on one side where the street is now blocked. But later some school children come and they start pushing that tree. Seeing them, the rest of the people get down from the respective cars, people around that area come up, they all lift up the tree and put it on the side. Have you seen this before? And within a few minutes, or maybe half an hour, the entire tree is moved and kept on the side, and the street is cleared. That's what I meant. Tum chalo to Hindustan chale. Please repeat with me. Padhenge hum. In a loud voice. Padhenge hum. Badhega India. Jai Ho India. Thank you very much for listening to me.